Good afternoon and welcome to World at Noon. My name is Remy Allen. The Ondo State Governor, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, has described as chairing the federal government's approval of Ondo Seaport. Governor Akeredolu, who thanked the Federal Executive Council, FEC, said the approval was an impressive parting gift from the Buhari administration. The governor, in a statement by his chief press secretary, Richard Olatunde, noted that actualizing the port project was very important to his administration as setting the state on the path of economic prosperity. Akeredolu said it is the goal of his administration to ensure that the potential of Ondo State is maximized and that all necessary infrastructure required making this a reality is put in place to achieve this. The governor also thanked the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Jaji Sambo, Minister of State for Transportation, Ademola Adegoroye, for their interventions and commitment, adding that history will be kind to them. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu says the state will soon reclaim its rightful place in the production of quality cocoa in Ondo State and in Nigeria. Governor Akeredolu, who played host to a delegation of the state's Cocoa Council and his development partners in Akure, said his administration is committed to working with relevant organizations and corporate bodies for improved cocoa production and a better economy. The governor also said he will work with the incoming administration at the federal level to improve cash crops production in the state. Government House correspondent Wahab Bankole was there for Osrc and now reports.
As part of his administration's commitment to promote food sufficiency and improve revenue generation through agriculture, Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu received in audience a delegation of the State's Cocoa Council and its development partners, led by Dr. Olusegun Awolumate.
Members of Ondo State Cocoa Council.
They were at the governor's office in Akure to deliberate with Governor Akeredolu on how the state can reclaim its #1 position in cocoa production in Nigeria. The chairman of the State's Cocoa Council, Dr. Awolumate, who applauded the governor for his passion for agricultural development, highlighted some achievements of the council since its inauguration in 2021. Awolumate says the agriculture sector, especially cash crops production, is key to the state's economic progress, which are promised to sustain collaboration with critical stakeholders to achieve the set targets of the state's cocoa bond project.
You actually indicated your desire to turn the sort of the cocoa house, cocoa tower in Akure, and the process of this, we have been working to ensure that we return the sort before the end of August or early September 2023.
In his presentation, the Chief Executive Officer of the development partner, FS Commodities Exchange Limited, Mr. Ayodechi Balogun, commended the governor for setting up the cocoa board and his quest to make the state the foremost cocoa producer in Nigeria.
Our expectation is that 6 months from the approval, from when you approve and help launch the roadmap, we will be able to then have 6 months to structure the financial transaction, and then by the end of the year we'll be floating the first issued commodity-backed bond in the history of Nigeria and possibly in the history of Africa. And by first quarter 2025 we'll be having the first set of trees, because the seeds that we are giving out mature and start producing in 24 months.
Governor Akeredolu, who restated his commitment to ensuring that the state reclaim its position as the leading quality cocoa producer in the country, reassured residents of sound policies towards food sufficiency and improved revenue generation through improved production of cash crops.
It has to do with our farmers who are mainly today. Most of them are first planting. Not legally recognized. And we find it difficult at times to ask them to leave, because whether they like it or not, forest belongs to the government. It should not be their own neighbor. But we try to explain this to them. They don't want to understand that. And we are made to understand that even their cocoa, or the species of cocoa that are now, in about 3 or 4 years, will not hand them a lot. But they don't understand that. It's only you that would have explained to them. If your committee form your body and go ahead and explain to them. Because forests are allocated to people and they're ready to give part of that allocation for you, to clear for you, to now start planting these new seeds if you want to give to them. It's in their interest in quota that will certainly enjoy our support.
Akeredolu stressed the need for farmers in the state to be on the same page with government towards redefining the agri sector for economic prosperity of the state and the people. Wahab Bankoli, Osrc News.
President Muhammadu Buhari will tomorrow, May 19, inaugurate the state-of-the-art presidential and Vice President Wing of State House Medical Center, Abuja. Abiodun Oladunjoye, Director of Information State House, said the groundbreaking ceremony of the legacy project situated within the premises of the presidential villa was conducted by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, on November 1, 2021. Spanning an impressive total floor area of 2,485 square meters on a suspended floor with a basement, the hospital, which serves as a specialized intensive care center, caters to the President, Vice President, their immediate families and VIPs, and incorporates state-of-the-art medical technology. The federal government says the Ministry of Aviation has been renamed as the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace of Nigeria. The Minister of Aviation, Adi Sirika, who made the announcement in Abuja after the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting, explained that the alteration became expedient because it is on the exclusive list. He maintained that the future of aviation had experienced an advancement such that aviation and aerospace were intertwined, and Nigeria had the need to proactively set its policies to align with future occurrence. The minister linked the development to the establishment of the African Aerospace and Aviation University in Abuja. The council also approved the concessioning of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano. Sirika also disclosed that the Abuja airport would be concessioned for 20 years, while that of Kano would be concessioned for 30 years. The Sultan of Sokoto, Haji Mohammed Sahad Abubakar III, says nothing can stop the inauguration of the president-elect Bola Tinubu on May 29, noting that all Nigerians should support the incoming government to succeed. Abubakar stated this while seeking prayers for the success of Tinubu's administration during a roundtable meeting with traditional and religious rulers organized by the World Bank. The Sultan, who urged Nigerians to help the government stabilize and move the country forward, charged them to be united and work towards ensuring equity and justice. The National Working Committee (NWC) of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) is set to constitute a committee that will review all cases of indiscipline and anti-party activities against its members. A statement by the PDP National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, noted that the decision was in furtherance of ongoing efforts by the national leadership of the party to instill discipline and to achieve comprehensive reconciliation in the party. Ologunagba said the party had ordered that no organ of the party at any level shall henceforth commence any disciplinary action against any member of the party without due consideration and regards to the provisions of the party's constitution. The ECOWAS Community Court of Justice in Abuja will tomorrow hear the suit filed by the Media Rights Agenda MRA seeking to compel the federal government to investigate the killing of 11 journalists which occurred between 1998 and 2019. In a statement, MRA lamented that no one was ever charged or prosecuted for any of the killings. The suit was filed on August 16, 2021 on behalf of MRA by Abuja-based lawyer Mr. Darlington Onyekwere, leading Ms. Chioma Nwaodike, Ms. Obinna Okonkwo, and Mr. Sadiq Rabiu against the federal government. The United Nations says it needs $2.6 billion to help people affected by the crisis in Sudan and additional funding for refugees in neighboring countries. Fighting between Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has escalated even as negotiations continue in Saudi Arabia. Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi reports.
Much needed humanitarian aid arriving at Port Sudan. It includes medical supplies from Qatar and Egypt.
This plane carries aid needed for surgeries amid the current situation in Sudan. There are some medicine, blood donation bags and trauma kits. Again, I thank the Qatari government.
On the ground, much of the fighting between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces is concentrated in the triangle of the capital Khartoum, Bari, north of the capital, and Omdurman across the Nile River. The army says it has pushed back the paramilitary group from Omdurman, a city across the Nile from Khartoum. It also says troops targeted a number of rebel positions in the center and north of the capital, resulting in heavy losses, including weapons and vehicles. But the Rapid Support Forces is claiming victory in the north, saying it has gained control of the several military bases. The group has released footage which it says shows the capture of 700 soldiers. The ongoing violence has caused a major humanitarian crisis.
Today, 25 million people, more than half the population of Sudan, need humanitarian aid and protection. This is the highest number we have ever seen in the country.
Many people say the situation is unbearable.
There is no shelter. We have no family to stay with. We can't go back to our homes. We don't know which state is safe to go.
We can't endure it any longer. War and destruction. We can't sleep because of the mosquitoes. We want to leave this place for a safer area.
The violence has also spread to the western Darfur region, with the worst fighting happening in Janina. More than 300 people are reported to have been killed in a matter of days. Negotiations towards a ceasefire and a safe passage of refugees are continuing in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The warring sides, according to reports, are holding unofficial talks through mediators. Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi, Osrc News.
In a related development, the Democratic Republic of Congo is struggling to deal with more than 6 million Congolese who have fled their homes because of conflict and national disasters. The country has the highest number of internally displaced in Africa, and the United Nations says it needs $2 billion to help the country, but only 25% of the budget has been met. Kemisola Ojomu reports.
More shelters for displaced people in North Kivu province are under construction to ease a crowded area near the provincial capital, Goma. Most of these people have fled from fighting between the armed group M23 and the National Army. Nearly 1 million Congolese here ran away from their homes during the last year.
We fled from my village 6 months ago. There was too much fighting, people were dying, so we came to this camp. Life is very hard. We don't have basic necessities.
The United Nations says the humanitarian crisis in Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the most neglected in the world. Most of the people are living in rough camps. They are fleeing from conflicts. It says they don't want to go back home because the situation there is too dangerous. Armed groups in the east and other areas have killed thousands and displaced many more in recent years. Aid agencies and the government are also dealing with diseases and natural disasters compounded by the climate change effects.
The numbers in the DRC are staggering because of the size of the country, the size of the population, and so it has the highest number of food insecure people in the world. 1 Congolese out of 4 is food insecure. And it has the highest of internally displaced people in Africa. A third number, it has over 6 million people severely malnourished, mostly children under 5, and this number has not moved for many, many years.
A landslide recently swept over villages in South Kivu province. It was one of the worst disasters in recent history. 400 people died, up to 5,000 are missing. Esther Solomon Sean barely made it out alive. She and her husband are now trying to get by.
It was raining heavily. We started to take the children to safety. I have 5 children and another on the way. I'm building temporary shelter until I figure out what to do.
They join more than 6 million internally displaced Congolese who are also trying to do what they can to survive. Kemisola Jomu, Osrc News.
A grain deal between Ukraine and Russia has been extended for a further 2 months. The agreement has allowed millions of tons of Ukrainian grain to be safely shipped through Black Sea ports blockaded by the Russian Navy. Russia has threatened to pull out on several occasions, but has welcomed this extension of the deal brokered by the United Nations and Turkey.
The importance of the Black Sea Initiative and the parallel memorandum of understanding between the UN and the Russian Federation is clear. These agreements matter for global food security. Ukrainian and Russian products feed the world.
The duration of the latest extension was about to end. With the efforts of our country and the support of our Russian and Ukrainian friends, it is agreed that the Black Sea grain corridor will be extended for 2 months.
There is a chance, not in words but in deeds, to help ensure global food security, and first of all to help the countries that need it the most. Secondly, our fundamental assessments of the Istanbul Agreements of July 22, 2022 have not changed, and the distortions of their implementation should be corrected as quickly as possible.
In the meantime, G7 leaders are converging on Hiroshima, Japan, with the war in Ukraine set to top the agenda. They are also expected to discuss economic protections against China and the nuclear threats in the wake of the Ukraine war.
The stakes for Ukraine are incredibly high, and there is concern that unless Ukraine is successful this year with the significant support it has had, it could be significantly harder to rally as much support in the future.
Meanwhile, China's President Xi Jinping is hosting 5 Central Asian nations. The summit coincides with a G7 meeting of advanced economies being held in Japan. It involves Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. China's foreign ministry says the meeting of Central Asian leaders in Xi'an is not in competition with G7. The head of Ecuador's military has warned that his forces will act firmly if protests turn violent. This comes after Ecuador's President Guillermo Lasso dissolved the National Assembly, which was considering whether to impeach him on corruption charges.
Ecuador needs a new political and social pact to allow it to escape from the serious political crisis the country is in, and which unfortunately is getting worse day by day. We need to move forward to a solution that can give hope to Ecuadorian families for a future of well-being and stability.
The decision of the President to dissolve the National Assembly is based on Article 148 of the Constitution. It is therefore subject to a constitutional norm and must be fully and completely respected.
The president knows he was going to lose because we had the votes to remove him. So in a cowardly manner, he preferred to sign an unconstitutional decree. Yet, we believe this is an opportunity for the people to elect a government that will work for them.
Also, Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been summoned to appear in court in Islamabad on corruption charges. He faces corruption charges in connection to a university trust he and his wife run. The 70-year-old veteran politician has said police were preparing to detain him again. Khan was arrested last week in connection with a corruption case, and the country's Supreme Court has ruled that his arrest last week was illegal. His detention sparked violent protests across the country.
Neither the military establishment, which means one man, nor these political parties, they're too scared for elections because they're scared I will win. So because of that, they're doing everything to make sure that I get out of the race. I've had 2 assassination attempts on me. One was where I was hit, one where I was lucky to be alive because I got saved, thank God. So this is the issue. 150 cases on me. Someone who has not had one criminal case in the last few months has 150 cases, including 15 criminal cases in a day, 40 terrorist cases. So, this is all to get me out of the race.
Not leaving corruption-related stories yet, a court of appeal in France has upheld the conviction of former President Nicolas Sarkozy for corruption and influence peddling. Sarkozy must wear an electronic bracelet at home for the first year of his sentence. The other 2 years have been suspended. His legal team says it will now take the case to France's highest court. Odwayo Sawyer reports.
The evidence that convicted Nicolas Sarkozy came from a wiretap placed by investigators looking into the financing of his 2007 election campaign for the French presidency. He was found to have conspired to secure a prestigious job in Monaco for a judge in return for inside information on an inquiry into whether he had accepted illegal campaign payments from L'Oréal heiress Liliane Bettencourt.
This decision seems stupefying to me. It's open to criticism, questionable in French law, and we will not give up on this fight. It's a just struggle in the face of a particularly unfair decision.
The lawyers will now approach France's highest court, the Court of Cassation. It reveals procedural aspects of cases, but not the facts. This isn't the only legal battle that marked Sarkozy's fall from grace. He is appealing a conviction for illegal campaign financing of his failed 2012 re-election bid, and prosecutors say the 68-year-old should stand trial on allegations that former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi sent him millions of euros in cash to fund his successful 2007 bid for the presidency. The only other president convicted by a French court was Sarkozy's predecessor, the late Jacques Chirac. He was found guilty of corruption but not sentenced to jail. Sarkozy wouldn't have to wear an electronic bracelet yet. That will only happen if his last chance of an appeal to France's highest court is rejected. Odwayo Sawyer, OSRC News.
Humans are closer than ever to visiting Mars. That is according to scientists from around the world who have gathered at a summit in Washington, D.C. They are trying to inject a sense of urgency into the mission, saying a gravitational slingshot in 2033 would shorten a round-trip journey from 2.5 years, 18 months.
This would be an opportunity to send a crew to the vicinity of Mars and bring them back. It would not be a landing mission because we don't think we would be able to build and test a lander by 2033.
Since I was a little boy, I've always dreamed about working in space. I'm doing it now, and I can't wait to be a part of this great adventure.
We have the baseline systems that we have been using on the International Space Station, but as with the entire mission, we will have to take fresh eyes on all of our systems and make sure that they play well together and they will work for a crew that is autonomous and a very long way from home.
We're going to have the first butterfly, the first bee, the first fish. We're going to pack this full, rather complex ecosystem and really see how it changes over time.
And with that story, we conclude Word at Noon. Thanks so much for watching. Good afternoon.